Good afternoon, everyone. Ragewood here, back with another Godforge video. It's Tuesday, so you know what that means. That's right, we've got to catch up on last Friday's reveals because we were busy working. But that doesn't change the level of excitement. Really cool one looking at today. One that has been introduced to us on a very brief level already in a Fateless video. So I'm excited just to look at how, the character came from just an idea to sort of the finished product. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So before we get into Fateless's take on Dagonet, I feel like it's a bit of an idea to just take a quick look at his origin story, if you will. So I'm just taking this just from sort of an Arthurian legend website. So as we know, Sir Dagonet was known as the Fool Knight, or a jester, as you can quite clearly see from the pictures. And he had a rather unconventional background compared to the other knights at the Round Table. He was born into a family of jesters and entertainers, and grew up in the court of King Arthur, where he sort of practiced his circus wit skills, if you will. Despite not having any noble lineage or traditional knightly training, Sir Dagonet's unique skills and abilities to bring laughter to the court earned him a place among the esteemed knights. He was also a skilled warrior, but his quick thinking and ability to diffuse tense situations with humour is what made him an invaluable member in Arthur's court. His background as a jester gave him a distinct perspective and refreshing sense of levity amidst the seriousness of knightly duties. He was known for his bravery and willingness to fight for the honour of the Round Table. So that is a bit of a sort of background into Dagonet. So with that in mind, we then look at the I suppose it's that way. I've moved myself to make it easier when we watch Simon. But anyway, as you can see from this side, we have the mood board, which shows a bunch of court jesters, essentially. And we got some pretty cool ones here. So, stereotypical sort of gesturing look. Sort of like, also, what's the, like, Venetian, sort of masquerade ball kind of feel in some of these as well. They've also used a character from Raid as Insight 2. And then we just got some sort of other, sort of, say, jesters or fools. This guy I think's pretty dope, but maybe a bit too knightly. If any of you have played World of Warhammer, they also remind me of the Harlequins from that sort of vibe. But yeah, just some pretty cool things to go off as well. This sort of reminds me of an Assassin's Creed. I don't know if this is where it's from, but in one of the Assassin's Creed games, we had that sort of Venetian masked figures, if you will. But as you say, just as all masked knights, reference to colour as layering doesn't need to be strictly Arturic inspired. And so that was sort of where the mood board started. So moving on to the second picture then. So they've sort of narrowed down some fashion references to say from masquerade balls, that kind of thing. And again, just some other things to consider. He is a disruptor, so that is something, interesting. We haven't seen too many disruptors so far. I believe it's just Odin. I think, is it Odin? We've only seen one disruptor in a Fateless video. And, I believe Disruptor to be some sort of crowd control champion, some regards, whether that is, say, stuns, reducing turn meters, maybe even just placing a lot of debuffs to reduce the effectiveness of the enemy team. So the head, say, is Venetian inspired, mask with a helmet, buffoon hat. That's really cool. Can be part of the helmet, and it's going to have some feathers. So we'll keep an eye out for that in a moment. Torso is going to have a puffy gambeson sleeves, the upper arm only. And as you can see, what they mean by that is, you know, again, what you see jousted, almost like sort of like quilted, sort of puffy crisscross. He's going to have some gauntlets or gloves on with gold decorations. The legs are going to be puffy pants. If sleeves are not puffy, he's going to have a neck piece, bells, and a skirt. Again, similar to what we're going to have sort of here, bells on the end of the helmet. That sort of thing. So then we come to the third picture, and this is the sort of initial Dagonet concept. Very clearly got the full tropes going on here, you know, with the sort of masks down by his torso, sort of like Phantom of the Opera feel, say Masquerade Ball, that kind of thing. Very much got sort of like the full sort of clothing underneath with your puffy sleeves, you know, the checkered prints, the sort of bells and things there. I do love that. Got his knee pads on as well for when he's sliding across the court floor. Braces, gauntlets on, mean looking sort of claws at the end there. And we're going to have sort of that sort of fool's cape at the back there. Helmet isn't initially what I thought they were going to go for. But again, this could just be the fact that it's the concept art. This looks like it's going to be metal as opposed to cloth. Nothing wrong with that. Again, they're allowed their artistic license, and I'm not the one making the game, but still that sort of mean, sort of imposing presence. It'd be cool if he had some sort of red eyes in the dim behind. And then we look at his weapons. We've got this sort of curved knife. Not sure how effective that's going to be in real life, but it is cool to see. And then we have the scepter with the crown sort of going back to that sort of royal court sort of vibe there as well. Overall, a really cool looking character. We then come to sort of the 3D modelling version, if you will, so to speak. So very lavish golds coming on here to suggest that he is sort of a knight in court, not just the jester, but still sort of referring back to his past. The mask sort of gives me sort of Green Goblin vibes as well. But he just looks wicked. You got the Arthur. That's a nice little touch there. The Arthurian, or Avalon rather, sigil on his gauntlets. Mean claws there. Overall, a very cool looking hero. The pointed boots as well. Again, sort of jestery vibe there as well. Looks like they've, maybe it's just me from the concept, looks like they've lost a few of the bells there. Again, nothing particularly wrong with that. Jester's cape at the back here with the checked pattern once again, and just overall looking very cool. We then come to his weaponry then. Sort of, this is obviously something done in sort of like the computer engine, seeing what it looks like on a grey scale there. Honestly, I don't know what this stuff is down here. You know, to me that reminds me of something you'd use in injection moulding to get the most out of a piece of plastic. But cool sort of vibe there. And the last picture is just a video on repeat looking at the weapons. You know, you sort of, I don't know if this is a ruby, but that's sort of very, again, royal sort of gemstones in there, skulls, just very, very cool weapons that we've got here. Now, the character itself also reminds me of Loki from Smite. If you've ever played that game, you'll know what I mean. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to sort of pause this here. We're going to fire up one of the Fateless videos, which actually gave us a little sneak peek into Dagonet in the game. So the actual video in question was just a general sort of art attack video that Simon went through that Fateless do every week, where they look at various projects and things that are coming along in these 2-week sprints that they do. And it's towards the end of the video, as you can see here at 14 minutes 9. It's actually around 14:11 that we see Dagonet in action. So I'm just going to play the video and then we'll talk about it in a second.
Dagonet here as well. Dagonet with the triple smack. I don't know if we've seen this hero even before, but drops the triple hits and then comes back into position. You start to get a feel for the work that's going on with the animations and the VFX. Tristain here.
So there we are. That is Dagonet right there for us. Let's see if we can get it where Simon's not there. So
to go. The more I'm seeing it, the more I am loving it.
We'll mute Simon again. So here we are. So here we have Dagonet in game, right? And I love this sort of like the fact like poof, smack, bounce back, kind of like, you know, smoke bomb vibe. You know, I think this really fits the sort of jester / fool trope that we've got here. You know, Simon mentioned that we have actually a triple hit. As you can see from the VFX, he does hit the characters all at the same time. Like cool visual effects there of his weapons, or copies of his weapons appearing at the top there as he slashes down and through, hitting the others. Now, what will be interesting to see is whether it's a triple hit against a single target as well, or whether this is an AoE hit. Now, my initial thoughts is that this is actually an AoE hit, which is why it's hitting 3 and won't be so good in a boss fight, for example. But obviously I have nothing to back that up, only what I am seeing here with you. Now it says that he is a disruptor, so this might be like his basic attack here rather than sort of an actual core ability or his ultimate, but still very cool. And we can see sort of what he looks like in game. Now it's a little bit hard because of the sand background we've got here, but you know, his armor doesn't look quite as gold as the initial concept in the 3D art, but again, that might just be the fact that we are in a very beige environment in the Aru, but doesn't take away anything from the cool look that the character has. Now maybe for his core ability, if he's a disruptor and a fool, and this sort of leads me back to sort of Loki from Smite, he could put out like a fake puppet version of himself, like a Jack-in-the-Box or something, which taunts them for 1 turn or forces them to attack that for 1 turn. You know, maybe it puts fear. Some people are afraid of clowns and jesters. You know, maybe that's where we're gonna go. Or maybe it places the corruption debuff. Now, we have already seen the corruption debuff, and I have figured out that that is essentially a silence ability. So maybe you are distracted by all of the puffs of smoke and, you know, the fanaticism that, you know, a fool or a jester might provide in the court, so you can't use your abilities for 1 turn. Lots of potential ways to go with this character. Again, one of the few disruptors that we have seen. So we're going to leave it there. We've got 2 more videos to do this week before we fly to Vegas in a couple days' time. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Look after yourselves, take care, work hard, but as always, play harder. And I'll see you in another one soon. Cheers.